Hey, welcome to part 4 of the Qedit tutorial. Today we are going to talk about placing a few more monsters. We're going to talk about writing a few more events in the view map event. And we're also going to talk a bit more about some objects and the parameters that you can change in them. Objects such as doors, switches, and floor panels. So before we move to anything, I'm actually going to move something around down here. I have the player set here and the event collision here that spawns the Solili. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch these. So I'm going to hit the move button, just move this a bit down here, and then I'm going to take this event collision and move it a bit further up so that the player doesn't spawn into it. This should be okay. And so I don't want the player facing to the south. This little arrow is pointing to the direction that the player is going to face when they spawn, or even a monster too. Same thing. So if you want to change the rotation on this, hit Edit Data, and you have this little wheel here. You can just click on what direction you want, and you can also enter it in manually as well. It changes it when I click here. So I want it facing north. So that's as north as we're going to get, it looks like. And if you zoom in and out, it'll update this. So that'll be fixed for next time. We're not going to be testing the quest today. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the show room ID. It's going to help us later. So this hallway is considered section 141. I'm also going to make the room ID placement for these monsters. Instead of it being automatic, I'm going to scroll down to 141 because that's where I want to place my monsters. Okay, it'll highlight it so it tells you where you're looking at. And I want Belras. So I want a Belra set to wave 1. And I want him like right down here. And then I want another Belra. We'll set him to wave 2. I want him like right over here, but I want him facing to the north. Oh, we gotta select it. Okay, he's facing north now. And in order to spawn these Belras, we're gonna need an event collision. We did this in the first part, but I'll show it again. So you want to go to event collision and objects. You add it. And we're going to add it to like the middle of this hallway. So no matter where the player walks, it should trigger this event collision. And we have to go and make this event number 2. Now to move to actually spawn these guys, we made this event number 2, so we type in number 2, then we type section. It automatically completes it for you when you type S. So section 141, wave 1, delay 30. 30 frames is 1 second. You can do delay 1 if you want it to spawn immediately. Don't do delay 0, just a reminder. So after this wave is going to be dead, after you kill the Belra, you want call 3. So number 3 will be the next wave. So section 141 again, wave 2, delay of 30. Then we're going to type this in for later, unhide. We're going to want to unhide. Unhide is one of the commands you can use here. You can use unlock, lock, unhide, and there's a bit more to like call. So unhide, we want unhide 141 and the appear flag of 1. So you want to just test and save this and hit OK. So this, just to go over, this is room number 141, appear flag of 1, and I'll explain what that is in a second. Next, we're going to place, not a monster, we're going to place a switch. Switch. There we go.
And there's a couple different switch skins depending on which area you go to. All of them pretty much function the same. You can leave it up to aesthetic to which one you want to use.
So we're going to put the switch here. It doesn't really matter which direction it faces for this type of switch. So you want to go into edit data. We're going to make this switch ID 2. And you notice how it's still in map section 141. And we're also going to make this appear flag of 1. If you make this appear flag of 0, it will be visible immediately. If you put an appear flag higher than 0, it will be invisible until you unhide it, whether it's in the script or in the view map event. Next, we got to place our door. Simple normal door. And we want to put that like right there. And we're going to make this switch ID 2. Because if you go and look in here, it's also switch ID 2. You want these to match. So with what we did here, just to review, you should walk to the middle of this hallway just about. You can move this up a bit. Belra 1 will spawn, you kill it. Belra 2 will spawn, you kill it, and it will unhide the switch. And just to see where everything is, you can open up the 3D viewer, click on the object you want to look at. Oh, that's not good. Oh, here we go. So, event collisions right here. You have Belra 1, Belra 2, and you can see the switch just behind him. So that's it for this hallway. Next, I think Phoenix Mog wants to place a door on this side of this room.
I'm going to place a multi-switch door over here. The naming of it can be different for each area, but they all generally function the same. For temple, this is the 4-switch temple door. I want this to be in room 93, which is this maze room here. I'll place it right here on this little alcove. Now, I'm planning on placing 2 switches to open this door. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this to switch ID 3 and the switch total to 2. This means that there's 2 sequent switches that need to be pressed to unlock this door. In this setup, you need to unlock switches 3 and 4 to have this door open. Of these 2 switches, special consideration, floor panel 2 does not have a hitbox. It's specifically for like a visual indicator. If you want to like have an actual like pressure pad, you want to have floor panel 1 or you want to have floor panel 3. They both function the same. The difference is the graphic that they have. In Qedit, they all have the same graphic, but floor panel 1 is the one that's in caves. Floor panel 3 is usually the ones that are in spaceship or mines. I'm going to just use floor panel 1 for this example. I'm going to place 2 switches. I'm going to have the first switch be switch ID 3. The second switch is going to be switch ID 4. However, this one I'm going to include a functionality that we will showcase later. A lot of switches have a stay active label on here. This is basically the same kind of switch that you may be familiar with from Endless Nightmare, Maximum Attack 1, where if you step off the switch, it turns off. If set active is 0, it just means when the switch is pressed, it stays pressed. Having these two switches like this will show how, if you want to unlock this door, you need to first press switch 3 and then press switch 4, because if you press switch 4 first, you still have to press switch 3, but stepping off of 4 locks 4 again. So once this door is unlocked, behind this door we're going to place a warp. Warps have quite a few labels to mess with. The 4 that matter is going to be destination XYZ and the destination rotation. These are the settings for where you will end up when you go through it. I plan on just setting this warp to be at the exact spot at the player set up here. So if we see the player set is about at the coordinate 16, 0, negative 110.
If you just to draw your attention to this area up here is where the coordinates are displayed for what you're looking at the map. So when you move your cursor, it updates it automatically.
I'm going to put replacement back to auto. So if we go into the edit data, we're going to put those 3 coordinates into the destination. For the rotation, we're going to have it end up making us face north. So we're going to do north. The rotation for the warp itself, you can use as a visual indicator to show you which direction that the destination can also be. But the destination and the actual rotation of the warp are 2 separate flags. So you can use it as a guide, but just remember that the destination is a different label. If you re-click the object, you will now see that there is a blue plus that is right on the destination that the coordinates are pointing you to. Qedit doesn't always like coordinates with warps very much. It often displaces you by plus or minus 10 in the 2 different directions. With some minor changes, you can set it to be exactly what you want to. But for us, we're just going to leave this alone for right now. And with that, I'm going to have Kayak talk about the script collision object.
So next, we're going to go into an object called script collision. So I want to place this script collision just past this hallway, right when you get into this room. So the script collision range does matter. So I'm going to actually move this a bit into the door, and I'm going to make the range a little bit smaller. So it automatically defaults to a 30 radius. So I want to make this like 20 so it doesn't protrude like out of the door. That's perfect. So what we're going to do is this object basically is going to point to a specific function in the script. So what will happen is when the player reaches this script collision, they're going to encounter a function of your choice. So for this object, we're going to do function 25. And then we go into our script. As you can see, we don't have function 25 made yet. So that's what I'm going to do now. So we're going to start this function off with a jump by. And I'm going to use register 15. Make this 0. I'm going to have this jump to function 26. And just in case you forgot what registers you used or didn't use, you can hit this little tab over here, and it shows you a whole list of all the registers you've used. If they're not listed here, they're not used. So if you double click on the register, it'll jump to it in the script. So register 15, and the highest register you can use is 255. So next, just in case we're going to add a ret here, just in case something unforeseen happens, then we're going to start with function 26. So what I want to do here is call to, so I can stop the player's movement. Then I want to go into a window message. And then I just want to put like a placeholder here for now. The left door leads to area A. The right door leads to area B. And the door in front of you leads to a warp. Then we want to do win end, so we can close the window. And then we also want to do call 3, so we can enable the player's movement. And then we want to end this function, because this is all I want to do, with a ret.
Don't forget the set R15.
I also want to set register 15 so that I don't want the player to activate this script collision more than once. So there's a few ways you can do this. I'm just going to do it Letty register 15, and you can enter any value. I'm just going to use 1. So this will set the register 15 to 1 and then end the function. Now the script collision will only activate if the player doesn't have a register set in 15. So by doing this, it will not allow the player to activate the script collision more than once. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some more opcodes to function 2 and 3. So let's scroll up to 2 and 3. So right now we only have disable movement and enable movement. We're going to also add hide HUD, or it's called HUD hide, excuse me. We're also going to add P action disable.
These two opcodes will change your abilities during when these functions are called now. P action disable basically makes it so that you can only push the A button. It's mostly for like advancing texts. And the HUD hide makes it so that your status bar is gone. They come back when you use HUD show, and your actions come back when you use P action enable. So this fleshes out these two functions that will be used for cutscenes and for dialogue or scripting scenarios.
And with that, this will, every time we call function 2 and function 3, all of these will happen. So you always want to call one and then the other once the whole cutscene or whatever you're trying to accomplish is complete. If you forget to call function 3, your player is going to be stuck there and they'll have to soft reset out of the quest.
It's very common to have more than one set of different functions for cutscenes and other related things. You can have one where the HUD disappears, but you could also have one where it doesn't, but the camera zooms in. Or you can have one where you can still move, but you just can't do any actions. You can make a bunch of different kinds that suit your needs. So that's it for part 4. We'll be doing part 5 next, and that will go over monster labels and a lot of different object labels. So stay tuned for the next one.